Good evening. I'm still smiling, right? I always smile. And the moderator is right. The conversation will be incomplete without Nigeria. Invest Africa and partners, ministers, business leaders, investors, development partners, members of the diplomatic community, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be with you today, representing His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President asked me to convey not only his goodwill, but also his unwavering belief in Africa and the future of the continent, in the extraordinary opportunities that lie ahead for our continent. I thank Invest Africa for convening this important gathering and for creating one of the world's most respected and influential platforms for dialogue between Africa and global capital. The conversations taking place here today matter because they address a question that will define the next generation, which is whether Africa will simply participate in the future or whether Africa will help shape the future. For us, the answer is clear. Africa's future will not be defined by its challenges. It will be determined by the quality of its leadership, the strength of its institutions, the boldness of its reforms, and the confidence of those willing to invest in its potential. Africa is a continent whose time has come. For many years, discussions about Africa were dominated by narratives of risk and conflicts. But today, a different story is emerging. Africa is not only the youngest continent on the planet, urbanizing faster than almost any other region, and possessing critical minerals essential to the global economy and the future of our planet, Africa is becoming a center for digital innovation, financial technology, creative enterprise, and entrepreneurial talent. And through initiatives such as the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, Africa is building what could become one of the largest integrated markets in the world. The question is no longer whether Africa matters. The question is how quickly the world recognizes the scale of the opportunity that Africa represents. Let me tell you briefly about Nigeria's own transformation journey. Nigeria occupies a unique position within the African story. As Africa's largest economy by scale of opportunity, population, largest consumer market, and one of Africa's most entrepreneurial societies, Nigeria's success matters not only to Nigerians, but to the broader African project. When President Tinubu assumed office, we inherited significant structural challenges. Difficult decisions were required. The administration chose reform over postponement. We removed costly distortion that weakened public finances. We restored greater transparency to the foreign exchange market. We embarked on the most comprehensive fiscal and tax reform program in our modern history. These were not easy decisions, but transformational change rarely comes from choosing the easiest path. Good thing is the results are beginning to show. Today, the evidence of progress is becoming increasingly visible. Nigeria's economy grew by 3.9% in the first quarter of 2026. In dollar terms, nearly 10%, despite a challenging global environment marked by geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruption, and heightened economic uncertainty. In US dollar terms, our economy grew by 11.2% in 2025 and is on track for another double-digit growth in USD terms this 2026. That is why we rank in the top 10 contributors to global GDP growth rate for 2026. This growth is significant because it demonstrates resilience. There are not many countries in the world where you pay interest rates at over 25 to 30% and you are still growing. It's almost like a miracle. You can begin to imagine what is possible when we get those rates down. Now, it shows that our economy is becoming more capable of absorbing external shocks. It reflects increasing investor confidence. It confirms that our reforms are working. International credit rating agencies have recognized the progress we are making. We also target to get to investment grade in a couple of years. I think Ghana targets 3 years. You know, we always compete with Ghana, jollof rice, football, now grade A. Investor grade ready for us, we need to get there before Ghana. And most importantly, the private sector is responding with increasing interest across multiple sectors of our economy. We recognize that reform is not the destination, it is the foundation. The destination is growth, jobs, prosperity, and shared opportunity. Nigeria's objective is clear: to build a productive economy rather than just a consumption economy, to export value rather than just raw potentials, to attract investment, not only because of our size, but because of our competitiveness. This is why we are investing heavily in infrastructure. This is why we are strengthening our fiscal architecture. This is why we are modernizing our regulations. This is why we are creating pathways for private capital to participate in our national development. But you may want to ask, where are the opportunities? The answer is simple: everywhere. The opportunities before investors are enormous. In energy, we're expanding generation, transmission, and renewable solutions. In infrastructure, we're developing roads, rails, ports, airports, and logistics networks. In technology, we're investing in digital infrastructure, data centers, artificial intelligence capability, and innovation ecosystem. In agriculture, we are building value chains that move beyond production into storage, processing, and export. In critical minerals, we are creating frameworks that encourage responsible investments in mining and domestic value addition. In housing, healthcare, manufacturing, sports, the creative economy, and financial services, opportunities continue to expand. Increasingly, investors are discovering that Nigeria's future growth story is broader, deeper, and more diversified than previously understood. But we know that Africa must mobilize more private capital. One of the greatest development challenges facing our continent today is not a lack of opportunities. It is the shortage of right policies and governance to attract long-term capital. We know it's very easy to point an accusing finger. We're also saying to ourselves, we need to look inwards. What do we have to do differently from governance point of view and policy? Our financing needs for infrastructure, energy transition, industrialization, and digital transformation are too large for governments alone. Public resources will always be important, but private capital must become a much larger part of Africa's growth story. This requires government to do their part. We must provide policy certainty. We must strengthen institutions. We must improve governance. We must create transparent and predictable investment environment. Nigeria is committed to doing exactly all of this. Before I close, I'll speak quickly about the Nigeria-UK partnership. The relationship between Africa and the United Kingdom remains important, but the future of that relationship will increasingly be defined by partnership rather than by aid, by investment rather than dependency, and shared prosperity rather than historical obligation. There are enormous opportunities for collaboration in infrastructure financing, in financial services, technology and innovation, energy security. With what is happening in Iran, the world is beginning to realize you need to diversify the source of energy. Nigeria and Africa present a new opportunity. We have mining, green growth, education and skills development, as well as trade and manufacturing. To investors in the room, Nigeria is not asking for sympathy, and I think it's consistent with what His Excellency the President of Ghana said earlier on today. We are offering opportunities. We understand that investment decisions are based on evidence, not promises. This is why we remain focused on execution. Our reforms are real, our commitment is firm, our direction is clear, and our ambition is substantial. Those who invest early in periods of transformation are often those who benefit most from the opportunities that follow. In conclusion, distinguished investors and partners, history teaches us that moments of great transformation are often recognized only in hindsight. I believe Africa is living through one of those moments. The foundation of a new economic era are being laid across our continent. Nigeria intends to play a leading role in that future. Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are building a more resilient economy, a more competitive business environment, and a stronger platform for investment and prosperity. The future we seek will not be built by government alone. It will be built by partnership. It will be built by enterprise. It will be built by investment. And it will be built by people who have the courage to see opportunity where others see only challenges and uncertainty. I'll close by quoting Benjamin Franklin, who once said that in this world, only two things are certain. But please permit me to add the third. That is debt, taxes, and a brighter future for Africa than many of us imagine. Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria. God bless Africa. God bless you all.